Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Grayscale Fibonacci retracements. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, there's been a lot of questions about when these Grayscale trusts are going to go up. Look, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know. Okay, I can't tell you for sure. What I will say is and I'm only going to go over this briefly because again, this is not really about the timing. We can just basically take a look at history and see when this happened. You guys can see this was the halving year of November, or halving year of November. Sorry. This was the halving year of Bitcoin in the previous cycle. Okay, this was in 2020. Bitcoin had its halving back in May of 2020. And then the elections happened. And what happened right around that time? Oh, look, LTCN, moonshot. Okay. BCHG, same thing. October, November, December, moonshot. Okay, right around that same time frame. Now, if we're looking at the, okay, maybe I can't look at this one, or some of these we won't be able to look at because there's just not enough history. But you guys can see that the ETCG kind of went off a little bit later during alt season, roughly about, I'd say, a half a year after Bitcoin topped out. Same thing. Well, Ethereum kind of did go up a little bit with Bitcoin, as you guys can see, but it didn't really start ramping up again until roughly about half a year after Bitcoin hit its all-time highs. So, yeah, unfortunately, some of these we're not going to be able to look at because there's not enough history. We go back to, and this is not a Bitcoin video, by the way, but we just go back in time here. You guys can see that the halving was right around this time frame right here, where this kind of upward vertical line is. That was right around the time of the halving, and usually we don't usually see a rally until roughly about the end of the year of the halving year. So then we saw that, and Bitcoin ripped. And as soon as Bitcoin started pushing past its all-time highs, actually even before that, that's when LTCN and BCHG popped off. So if history repeats itself based on this, maybe November, December of this year, we see LTCN and BCHG start popping off to the moon. Okay. There is the competing theory of a possible recession. Some people think that's going to kind of put out the fire, so to speak, for the crypto bull run. I don't think that's the case. Look, y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? And don't take my words to heart here when I say this. I don't think there's a real risk of an actual recession until 2026. Okay. I don't think 2025 is going to be that year. I could be wrong. Okay. I could absolutely be wrong, but there's a lot of reasons why I think that 2025 is not the year. It's possible we may not even have a recession in 2026 when Trump gets reelected, because he might pull like what he pulled back in 2020, where he forced the Fed to slam rates to the floor. And then we got some kind of crazy 40% sell off in the markets, or 60% in the case of crypto, over a couple of months. And then the Fed freaks out and they just immediately start printing money. We could see something like that again, and that could be the recession. There's a lot of scenarios here that could play out. But like I said, again, I really don't think 2025 is going to be that year that a recession manifests. I just don't think so. So let's go ahead and get into this. We'll just do, once again, the local and the macro on the fibs here. So local macro, assuming that this is a local one, by the way, assuming this red candle right here is the bottom. Assuming that's the bottom and it just goes up from here, in terms of swing levels, we'd be looking at roughly, 83, 130, 174, and 201. So potential gains here could be as much as roughly about a 20x. I mean, you get a 20x, let's say just a couple $1,000. You'd be looking at roughly about $40,000. And do keep in mind that any of these levels in terms of the Fibonacci retracements are possible, but nothing is a guarantee. Okay. It's possible, but whether it likely goes to these levels or not, well, that's a different story entirely. I mean, if I was an LTCN at these prices currently and it went to $510, I would be very satisfied with that. I would not care if it went to a couple thousand. I mean, it would suck. I'm not going to lie, but a 50x is still good. So 830, 1315, roughly about 1850. And then we have 2150 here, and that's $2,150. So And maybe it's possible that the prices of these even go beyond the top Fibonacci level. Maybe LTCN does go to 3, 4, 5,000 a share. I don't know. I will tell you guys this based on my experience in crypto. The narratives usually run the market. So last cycle we had meme coins, we had metaverse, we had exchange tokens, and then I can't remember what else. I think those were the big three. There might have been something else there, but those were the big three last cycle. Okay. So it was meme coins first, and then we had the exchange tokens. BNB went from like $20 to $600 or some crazy thing like that. And then we had the metaverse right at the end with things like Decentraland and Engine Coin and probably some other stuff, Axie Infinity, some other stuff like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. So anyways, LTCN here, 215X. Again, if the narrative is extremely strong behind the Grayscale Trust going into the bull run and it becomes like viral, like everybody's talking about it, then yeah, absolutely, these things could do stupid gains. Okay. So 215X times 2,000, $430,000. And again, that's possible. Whether it's likely or not, I don't know. It could go as high as 510 or lower than 510. It could go up to 2,000. It could go up to like 10,000. We don't know. So let's do the local now on BCHG. So assuming that this is the low here, and again, we're just assuming this is the low. We don't know if it's actually the low or not. And we are going to talk about here shortly in the future, before the Fed starts cutting rates, how crypto generally performs when they do cut rates, because I think that's important. So 37, 55, 75, and 86 here. So 86, let's see, 86 divided by, we'll just call this 550, nice round numbers, 15.5x. Again, that's honestly not bad. I would be pretty content with that if it was me, but to each their own. So 31,000 roughly. Now for the macro, you can see I have all these numbers typed out here, and I'll probably just leave the numbers that are already up here on these charts. I'll probably just leave these up here for you guys. So 100, 158-ish, 225, and roughly about 256. So we do 256 divided by 550, just to make it nice and easy for everybody. 46.5x. Again, that's absolutely possible. I don't see any reason why that can't happen. Dogecoin in the last cycle did a 700 plus x. So 93,000 here. And keep in mind, Dogecoin, before it blasted off on its 700x, it actually had a very, very small market cap, probably similar to, maybe not exactly like what these Grayscale trusts have, but it was pretty far down there. I can't remember what it was. I might have to use the Wayback Machine to go back and look in time, but it was very small. Dogecoin was only 1/10 of a penny at that time. All right, so we got HSN here. We're going to do the measurement here. Assume that this wick low right here was the low. It could be, could not be. We don't know. So 16, 24, 32, and we'll just say roughly about 38. So 38 divided by, we'll just call this 280, 13.5x. Again, that's pretty good. So roughly about 27K. The big problem with a lot of these Grayscale trusts is we don't actually have like a full-blown cycle yet for a lot of these trusts, because they came out in the middle of the bull run. So we don't really have like full-blown data for a lot of these. The only ones that we have them for is like the Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and ETH related ones. So that kind of sucks. Let's see here, 50, 79, 110, and roughly about 129. So 129, we'll just call this 280 divided by 280, 46x. So that's a great return. I would not be upset about that. We actually do still have our money in HSN. We did not do a buy, sells, and dividends video for the week on the previous week. Reason being is because we're going to do our monthly one. So we'll show you guys all that stuff when we get around to it. So I keep forgetting this is actually not supposed to be a daily video. So we assume that this is the wick low right here, which it could be, could not. Time will tell. So 27.50, we have about 39.52 and 59.70. We'll just round it up and call it 60, make it nice and even. So 60 divided by 860. 7x, I mean, that's not bad. You're talking roughly about $14,000 here. And again, I'm going to tell you guys like what I told you before. Okay, I think likely when Bitcoin rips to new all-time highs at the end of the year, we're going to see BCHG and LTCN go up first. And then when ETH takes over, we'll see the ETH products, and then we'll see the rest of these Grayscale trusts a little bit later on. Once the Bitcoin dominance actually gives way to the ETH Bitcoin dominance and ETH Bitcoin rises, that's, I think, when we're going to see a lot of these other outliers start to moonshot. So 150, 250, roughly about 340, and we'll just say $400 all the way up there at the highs. So 400 divided by 860, that's a big return. So 46x, roughly about 93,000. Okay, so ETH. So we have this little local top up here. We'll just assume this little red candle right here. You can see that touch this white line down here is the bottom. Don't know if it is or not, but as of right now it is. So 48.50, 66, 84.5, and roughly about 96.5. We'll just round that up and call it 97, make it easy. So roughly about a 4.7x. Again, I'm not expecting Ethereum or Ethereum related products, even with the trust trading and accumulating Ethereum. I'm actually still not even expecting Ethereum to perform as good as the altcoins, because altcoins usually always outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum in crypto bull runs. That's just the way it is. Again, I've talked with you guys about this. The smaller the market cap, the bigger the move. That's usually what happens. So 110, we'll just say 175, roughly about 235 and 280-ish. So 280 divided by 2070, 13.5, so 13.5x. That's still pretty good. I do think that's possible for Ethereum. I don't know that it's possible from it's possible for ETH-E and ETCG to do something like that, but I don't know that Ethereum's going to do a 13x from the current price that it's at right now. I'm just going to give a rough estimate here and say that I think Ethereum might top out somewhere around maybe 10 to 12K, maybe 15K if I'm being generous. Okay, so Phil G. You got 220, 350, 460, and 540 respectively. So 540 divided by 36, you're looking at a 15x. I mean, I definitely think that's absolutely possible. I mean, Filecoin itself is just kind of still sitting at the lows. It hasn't really done much of anything. I suspect Filecoin's probably going to be a late mover. I don't think it's going to moonshot immediately. It could start moving up when the alt season happens, but I think it's probably going to be a late mover. Usually when we see things start to move before Bitcoin goes to all-time highs, that usually indicates what the first movers are going to be. And the things that don't usually go up fast, when we get that kind of summer DeFi phase, which we had this year, the things that usually lag behind, those usually move much more aggressively later on, is usually what happens, based on my experience. So 620, 990, 1370, and roughly about 1580 here. So 1580 divided by 36, 43.8x. We'll just call it a 40 or 44x. So that's pretty good, 87,000. So GBAT local retracement here. We're looking at roughly about 31, 47, 64 and 74 respectively. So 74 divided by 450, and I do think, and yes, I will be honest with y'all, I do think this is absolutely possible. I don't see any reason why the underlying token, basic attention token, couldn't do this as well. So 33,000 here. The thing that makes altcoin season so hard to navigate is most people usually underestimate just how bullish the moves can actually be. You know, most people are like, oh yeah, maybe I'll get like a 2-3x of my money, and then the thing does like a 20 or 30x, and people are like, you know, what the F just happened, right? So 50, 80, roughly about 110 and 125 respectively. So 125 divided by 450, 27.7x. I mean, that's a solid return. I would not be upset about that at all. GLIV. So local retracement, assuming that this is the swing high, this is the swing low, and then we're going to go to all-time highs from here, which, again, that's assuming a lot, but I mean, it's possible it could happen. So 75, 112, 148, and 170 respectively. Personally, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't think that these things are going to all-time highs this month, because September usually is a pretty bearish or flat month for asset classes. They don't usually do much in September. They usually start picking up next month. So 24,200. But I mean, look at it this way. You know, if you're bullish on crypto, it just gives you the opportunity to buy more while the prices are cheap, because at some point the prices are going to be expensive, and that's when the rest of the retail crowd that is not in the space right now is going to be FOMOing in once we get closer to the highs. So 130, 190, 260, and roughly about $300 respectively. So you're looking at roughly about a 21.5x. That's pretty good money. I mean, that's about an average return with altcoins, I would say. So 42,800. G-Link, this one's very popular. A lot of people like Chainlink. We actually did have some Chainlink in the previous cycle. So let's see here. We got 216. We'll just call that 337, 450, and roughly about 520, 522. So again, we'll use round numbers here because it's much easier to do. So 520 divided by 4550, 11.4x. I mean, you would really have to find like a really almost non-existent cap in stocks and get really lucky on the direction, news catalyst, stuff like that, to be able to get a return like that within a single year. So 360 on the macro, 545, 730, and then roughly about, we'll say 870. 870 divided by 45.5, roughly about a 19x. So just shy of 40K. Again, that's a really good return. And of course, there's also the option to do the call debit spreads on the Bitcoin miners and things like, I suppose you might be able to even do it on something like Beto. Although personally, I would not be doing call debit spreads on anything that has low volume. Okay, there needs to be a lot of contracts, a lot of open interest for me to want to do a call debit spread on that. But I mean, to each their own. You know, I could actually show you guys this right now. We're gonna go over this later, but basically, we have a lot of 26 call debit spreads on CLSK. We are expecting to go well above 20 by basically January of next year. Okay, so if we were not bullish on crypto, we would not be doubling down on our position on crypto. As you guys can see, we do expect the prices to go up. So 760, 1,025, 1,310, and 1,510 here on GSOL. So 1,510 divided by 340 comes out to a 4.4x. You know, I feel like I'm kind of undershooting the target here by saying it's only a 4.4x, but we don't even know if Solana is going to get an ETF. So we'll just, I mean, the Ethereum ETFs were kind of flat as of right now. Like Bitcoin ripped on the news of the ETFs, but Ethereum was just kind of a dud. So not really sure how much of an effect the ETFs are going to have on GSOL. I think it's more about timing of the actual bull market itself and the Fed monetary easing and all that stuff. So GXLM, we're pretty much, I'll just go through the bottom and tops here. So 100 to 240 is what we're looking at here, somewhere anywhere in that range. So we'll do the top one here at 240 divided by 1850, roughly about a 13x. Again, I think that's a solid return. I mean, if you only have 2K to put in, or if you have 20K to put in, or 200K, I mean, that's entirely up to you as to how much you choose to put in here. So we got 160, 250, 345, and roughly about 400 here. So we're looking at maybe like a 20 something X on this. Whoops. Okay, that's definitely way off. So 400 divided by 1850, so roughly about a 21.5x. Again, pretty good money. I mean, put in the amount there in the calculator that you think is relevant to your situation. Everybody puts in different amounts in crypto or whatever they put in. Some people make different amounts of money. Some people have different amounts of money. It just depends on your situation. So mana, roughly about 50, 78, 108, and then roughly about 125 respectively. So 125 divided by 10. We'll just call this 10. Keep it simple. 12.5x. It's going to be 25K. And then on the macro scale, it's much larger. So we got 110, 177, 238, and roughly about 278 respectively. I'll just round that up to 280. Keep it simple. I mean, it could always just wick above the level and then come back down. That does happen a lot of times at the top of a move. So 28x, 56K. I mean, that's not bad. Of course, if you had 20K in there and it did that, it would be 560K. But again, the old advice, never invest more than you can afford to lose. I can't tell you guys what to do with your money. I will just say that, we're not putting all of our eggs into crypto into one basket because, again, there's conflicting stories going on here in the markets. Okay, one side of the camp is like, oh, we're going to have a recession. The other side of the camp is like, oh, yeah, the crypto bull run's coming at the end of the year. So, we want to make sure that we are hedging our bets either way. That's just us, though. Everybody can come up to their own conclusions as to what they think is going to happen. So 15, 22, 29, and roughly about 33. So 33 divided by 4, 8.25. I mean, that's pretty good. That's what is that? 800% gain, 16,500. Okay, so last one here, we're going Zcash macro high to macro low. 62, 105, 141, and roughly about 166 respectively. So I do think this is possible. Again, Zcash is not really a very popular project, but anything is possible here. So 41x times 2,000, 83,000. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.